What truly makes the case of Chandler Halderson particularly appalling is the gruesome natures of the crimes, evidence, testimonies, and the numerous people afflicted by this monstrosity. With over 30 hours of cross-examinations conducted brilliantly by the state's prosecutor William Brown, this ultimately left public defenders Catherine Doral and Crystal Vera with very little space to persuade the jurors otherwise. The following segments will be condensed as we delve into the psychopathy of what some would describe Chandler's behaviors as an acute form of mythomania, or pseudologia fantastica. To better understand this case, it's crucially important we analyze Chandler's past. This would all stem from an extremely long, complicated lie Chandler would tell his friends and family years prior. Chandler was born in Windsor, Canada, along with his older brother Mitchell. His parents, Bart and Krista, was an easy outgoing couple who moved to Wisconsin to live their American dream. Mitchell would eventually become a technical service representative, moving out of his parents' house, and soon would get engaged. Chandler, on the other hand, had officially enrolled into college, pursuing the trade of becoming a renewable resource engineer. He would eventually meet a woman by the name of Kat. During Chandler's first semester in college, he stopped showing up altogether and eventually dropped out. When asked by his father about his progress, he'd lie about attending school, claiming he only needed one more class to graduate. He would even go a step further and lie about having an internship working from home. These particular moments is very important as this was the beginning of Chandler's pathological lying tendencies. A pathological liar is often associated with an underlying mental disorder. It's still uncertain why Chandler went to such great lengths to keep up this facade, as it never appeared to be any severe repercussions. Some may conclude Chandler wanted to portray himself as someone he wasn't, as others would conclude that one lie eventually led to another, which consequently created a snowball effect. As a result, Chandler would lie to his parents about attending online meetings, and instead would play video games with his friends. One of Chandler's online friend was a man by the name of Smith. At the time, Smith was a US soldier stationed in Germany. The two would often play Escape of Tarkov, talking on Discord, and soon becoming very close friends.
And so how about did you end up meeting Chandler? Was he just in one of these games and you talked to him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you talk to him a lot?
Yes, sir.
Did you develop a friendship?
Yes, sir.
About what time was this? What year was this?
I want to say it was 2019 or 2018. It was shortly after my son was born, sir.
Okay. And how often, if you just had to give us a general overview, how often would you play video games with Chandler online?
Almost every day, sir.
Okay. And would you be talking and communicating during that time period?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Smith would notice Chandler had an extreme interest for a particular weapon in a game they often played together, the SKS rifle. So, he decided to surprise Chandler and visit him for a few days. Smith would acquire the firearm and gift Chandler the weapon with over 400 rounds of ammunition, 3 magazines, and an optic sight attached. He then took a photo of the firearm's serial number and Chandler's ID to document this transaction. It was soon after Smith's departure, Bart began to inquire into Chandler's progress in college, requesting to see his transcripts. Of course, Chandler didn't have access to any of this since he had stopped going to school. He instead decided to make multiple fake email accounts pretending to be school officials, messaging himself, and eventually forwarding those messages to Bart. In hindsight, forensic detectives were able to track the IP address of all the emails involved. It was confirmed the emails created were done so within the same vicinity as the Halderson's residence. It's also noted that multiple grammatical errors were found throughout the conversation, hinting at an unusual degree of unprofessionalism. As Chandler began to spew this lie to his parents, he'd also tell his girlfriend and her family this lie as well. It wasn't long until Bart began to grow suspicious, wondering why his son never had money. That's when Chandler would deceive his father yet again. He first began to tell his father that the company had originally messed up his payroll. After that, he told his father since the amount was too large, the bank thought it was a fraudulent deposit, putting a hold on his funds. Being an accountant, Bart couldn't grasp nor understand how a college and an insurance company could make such careless mistakes. So, when Bart began to inquire even further, Chandler had to think of another lie. He would soon tell everyone that he had recently quit his job at his internship because he had just gotten hired to work for SpaceX. He also claimed that he would be moving to Florida within the next few weeks, as this was a mandatory requirement for the company. As days went by, Chandler's older brother Mitchell would soon be hospitalized, where he was carefully looked after by his parents. This would soon give Chandler a new idea. Chandler would lie about falling down a flight of stairs and insisted he needed to be taken to a hospital. Since physical trauma is usually assessed by the pain the patient experiences, he was able to get diagnosed with a mild concussion and given a neck brace along with some medication before being released. Since Chandler had claimed he was suffering from a severe injury, he told his parents he no longer was able to travel to Florida, therefore unable to keep his new job at SpaceX. This left Chandler with only one more lie to cover for, and that was attending college. His parents weren't too demanding about seeking a new job, but did expect Chandler to continue his schooling. Bart would constantly ask to see Chandler's transcripts, wondering why he was never able to receive them. That's when Chandler decided to forward his father multiple fake emails pretending to be school officials. Day after day, Bart would message a fake email account, not knowing it was his own son. Being tired of not making any progress, Bart decided to call the school himself, where he was able to talk with a man named Omar Job. Bart would notify Chandler that he had spoken to Omar Job and had arranged a meeting between the three of them on July 1st. It's arguable that Bart was partially aware of his son's deceptions, going as far as saying he thought something wasn't right. Chandler's lies would officially be coming to an end. On July 1st, Bart would text his son Chandler stating, "I'm ready when you are," insinuating that the time has finally arrived. This was the last recorded words of Bart Halderson. It's still unclear what exactly happened once Bart arrived home, but the autopsy report would reveal that Bart was fatally shot twice in the back before being dismembered and partially cremated in his own fireplace. Shortly after, Krista would receive a text message from Chandler saying, "Dad's phone died, working an extra hour. Bring home soda." It's still uncertain what exactly transpired once Krista arrived home, but both Bart and Krista would succumb to the same demise, being dismembered and partially cremated in their own residential fireplace. Chandler would now begin the process of attempting to cover up the murders. For the next few days, he'd begin to start cleaning and covering his tracks. That's when Chandler would fabricate yet another lie to his friends and family members, stating both of his parents went to a trip to their cabin with an unknown couple and would return in just a few days. This is when Chandler began dismembering both of his parents, then would begin to scatter the remains across neighboring properties. Anthropologists and light forensics would both testify at trial, stating there were indeed human bone fragments located inside the fireplace.
And just like we've seen in the other tissue, we're seeing both the smooth edge as it's cut. You can see that it's almost a flat end, right? And that's demonstrated by the red arrows. But the green arrow is showing you a step or an irregularity, in the way that that bone is cut. So we're seeing some evidence of a sharp force that's not clean all the way through, but kind of jagged cuts on top of the bone. And again, I'm using my left hand to make kind of a sawing motion to demonstrate the movement.
Thank you. What is shown in slide 30?
And that Chandler had attempted to burn his parents' remains for over 4 hours, as the light anomalies had been carefully documented and analyzed.
And there you've overlaid those labels onto the zoomed in part of the screen.
That is correct.
And we have the time there in the very center of the screen. Right now, about 12:19 in the morning.
That's correct.
If we look at the far left, there's a smaller image. Is that the whole image before you zoomed in?
Yes, so the image on the left is the actual size of the video that we received without modifications in size.
And just switch from 9x to 1x. What does that mean?
So I was asked by Detective Sims in preparation for trial to take portions of the flickering light throughout the evening and run it faster than real time, just in the interest of the court's time. And in other sections, just to run it at normal speed, 1x. So those annotations were added by me.
Chandler would even purchase ice at a local convenience store to chill his parents' severed limbs inside of a freezer located in the basement, where human blood was later found. Chandler would also tell his girlfriend to bring over hydrogen peroxide and a Swiffer mop under the ruse of a self-inflicted injury, to which she did. He later returned the mop to his girlfriend and told her he couldn't hang out as he was too busy completing chores. When Chandler's mother failed to notify her job about not being able to make it to work, suspicions began to rise as this behavior was highly unlike his mother. Chandler would reinforce to her employers that his parents decided to take an unprecedented vacation trip with an unknown couple. He even stated that he had gotten a text message from his mother saying they made it there safely. It was later confirmed that the text message received had indeed been sent inside the Halderson's residence, meaning Chandler had sent himself this text message from his own mother's phone. After the cleaning process, Chandler would spend the next few days with his girlfriend Kat and her family on July 4th. As more and more days went by and still no contact from his parents, Chandler's brother and his girlfriend insisted that he should file a missing persons report. That's when Chandler eventually headed to his local police station in Windsor and reported his parents missing. He recited his lie to police stating his parents headed to their cabin up north with an unknown couple. When asked why their vehicles were still at the residence, he stated they joined the unknown couple's vehicle, bringing along bottles of alcohol and 2 jerry cans of gasoline. It was then the search had officially commenced. Chandler would eventually head door to door, asking neighbors if they had any footage of the vehicle his parents had gotten into.
If you were able to capture the road or my house? Yeah, did it capture anything on?
We don't know. We don't know. They just took a copy of everything, and so we're hoping.
Wide angle lens?
Yeah, and it's all
Be able to get a
yeah, and it's all HD.
He would eventually give an interview with Channel 3000 News, but obscurely decided to remain off camera.
All I would really want to ask you is just if there's any information that you feel like, would be worthwhile for us to share, anything that you feel like is important for us to share, just anything like that, of that nature.
So my last message I got from them, they were going to White Lake for the 4th of July. There's some festivities that go around there, better drink prices at bars, stuff like that for, White Lake, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, their plan, or to my knowledge, they were going to Langlade County to a cabin, their cabin. Along the way, they could have stopped many places. I wouldn't know all of them. But it's about 3 hours north of Madison, or Dane County.
And they left then a week ago today on the 1st? Friday
morning.
So that would have been the 2nd, right, of July when they left. And that's the last you'd heard of them?
Yes, it is.
And then was it yesterday that you called the sheriff's office, or someone with your family called the sheriff's office just to...
I go back on that.
No,
I actually got a text from them on Sunday telling me they were going to White Lake.
Okay.
I don't know when the text was sent because of reception issues that they would have, and they usually turn their phone off because of pay for roaming.
Yeah.
It could have been whenever they sent that message that they made it safely, and they're going to White Lake for the 4th.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So it was probably the last couple of days that you started to get nervous then. Is there we see comments, people say, are they up north? Is the cell service bad? Could they, just not be able to get a hold of? Is there anything that you feel like is kind of going on here that leads you to be a little bit more nervous that that's not the case?
My aunt went up there and was able to call me while she was at the cabin.
Okay.
So she was able to call me. I don't know what provider she's using, but U.S. Cellular would take up most of Wisconsin, so they'd be able to call today because this weekend it was packed. I get that, packed. Maybe the weather wasn't great for messaging. So who knows?
And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about was a lot of the comments, people were concerned or kind of wanted some clarification about the vehicle, right? Because the reports from the sheriff's office say they didn't have a car or there wasn't a car with them.
They were picked up by their friends,
Okay.
who I never got the name of, and I assumed it was someone I was aware of, like the close neighbors of theirs up the street, or their best friends down on the east side. So that's what I assumed. I never really asked any further into it, and so they got picked up and they all went up there by like another couple.
Picked up here?
Yeah, here at my house.
Okay.
Before I woke up, they had everything packed up and ready to go.
And you don't know who they're who?
No.
Jeez.
And that's I mean that has happened before, where they just kind of head out before I leave or I wake up. You know, I'm a heavy sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a schedule. I wake up at 6 to feed the dogs, and they were out before 6.
Mm-hmm.
Beat the rush to get to the north.
Mm-hmm.
So
Police eventually headed to the cabin and determined that no one had entered the vicinity, as the grass had not been disturbed and the doors were still locked. It wasn't long until police started to search the Halderson's residence, where they began to uncover startling evidence. Ultraviolet lights revealed a large amount of blood was discovered in the basement, freezer, and living room, which had been mixed with hydrogen peroxide. Human bone fragments were both located in the residential fireplace as well as inside the ash trap. Various sharp instruments such as hacksaws, blades, and an axe were found to have human blood, which had been hidden around the property. The firearm used with the associated shell casings were found in a neighboring garage. And last but not least, police began discovering human remains scattered across neighboring properties. With all of the evidence that had been collected, Chandler and his girlfriend Kat were eventually taken down to the police station to answer questions. Here, we're able to briefly see the difference in both demeanors, as Kat seems anxious to help aid the investigation.
We just want your phone to be away from you during the transport. That's what we do regularly. We're not going to look at it. We're not going to do anything. It's going to sit on the dash up there.
Okay,
if that's okay.
Hey, Mitch, I gotta let you go.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Catch that, Lisa?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, don't be examining it, but just hang on to it and deliver it once you guys get uptown. Okay.
Thank you.
So that's the deal. You're not under arrest. You're not like detained. We just want to talk and get some crap out as soon as we can. I do not know what's going on downtown. And then hopefully you guys go out for dinner tonight.
Okay.
Okay? Because I thought that was the plan.
Okay.
All right. You guys are going for dinner, whatever?
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Cool. All right. Thanks for your help. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Your seatbelt on? Yes. All right.
Oh my god, you can see me?
And Chandler genuinely seems worried.
Officer?
Yeah.
What are they up to?
I didn't hear that.
What are they up to?
My guess is they want to just ask some more follow-up questions and stuff.
No, they went into the house.
No, they went to go over the hallways there.
They just went behind it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Though Chandler tried to lie his way through life, his pathological lies would eventually catch up to him and lead him to a road of despair. As police began to uncover more and more evidence day after day, on January 20th, 2022, after hours of deliberation, the jury had unanimously came to a decision and found Chandler guilty of 2 counts of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he was transferred from Dane County Jail to serve his sentence in the Dodge Correctional Institution.